Hi, this is Jason Romero, blind ultra runner and triathlete, and this is another episode of Running for the Visually Impaired. Hi, today we're going to look at some different techniques for trail running. I get asked a lot about how does a visually impaired person trail run and what additional assistive devices do you use. So we'll go over some quick tools and techniques today in this short video, and I hope this helps. Trekking poles. So the first thing that's really important for me, especially with doing night running or in any kind of technical trails, is to use trekking poles. There's a couple different types that I have. One is an adjustable version right here. And what these do is they allow you to change the different height for the user and also terrain. For certain types of terrain, you may want the poles a little higher so your arms are higher so you can reach out further, or you may want them lower if you're going uphill. But the concept is that these are adjustable. You can actually get really cheap adjustable trekking poles at Costco, 29 bucks for carbon fiber. You can't beat them. So that's the adjustable version. There's also another very slick version that Black Diamond makes, which is similar actually a lot to canes. And they're called Z poles. Basically just let it drop and you snap. They're super light, easy to carry on a pack. And the way that these are used is you're not using these to trudge. What you're doing is you're using them out in front of you so that as you're running and moving, you're actually touching the terrain in front of you so you know whether you're going to step into a lower area with your right foot or a higher area with your left foot. But you're really feeling as you're going and running, and they're an extension of you. They also help you if you roll an ankle and you have to catch balance. It's an extra point of balance. So trekking poles are critical. And every visually impaired person should be using trekking poles when they're out there on the trails. It helps a lot. There's no reason not to have them, and it's an easy accommodation. Lighting. The next thing that is super critical for visually impaired folks, especially those whose eye conditions cause night blindness or less light perception in the dark, is lighting. And that's actually true for a sighted and a visually impaired or unsighted runner. What I prefer to use is a headlamp, because when you wear a headlamp, it enables you to be hands-free and have your hands free. I prefer to use Princeton Tech Apex rechargeable. This thing is a beast, 275 lumen, and it's rechargeable. So when your charge goes down, you basically plug this into a USB port in the wall, and it just recharges your rechargeable battery. You can also buy additional battery packs, which I always have a couple of, and I keep a couple of these around the house, and I always take 2 of them when I go running. I really like this Apex because, one, it has a very, very bright first high beam, middle beam, low beam, and it's got also some additional nice features, side lights, which are high, low, and then flash for oncoming traffic. So this one I have found to be just my go-to headlamp. There's also a version of this which is carries 8 batteries, AA batteries, and you can put a battery pack right here and then wear this on your head so you don't have the extra weight, because there is a little bit of weight associated with it. I use this if I'm going on long adventures or for some reason just don't want to have the weight on my head, but I've never had that issue. But I like this one as well. The other Princeton Apex is basically a 4 AA pack, but you just end up using batteries. Same thing, 275 lumen Princeton Apex, it's just a different model. There is another handy dandy piece that I found too, which is just a regular handheld flashlight. This is a real big one at Costco. It takes C batteries for. Extremely bright. This is actually 1,000 lumen. And the benefit with this is when you have a handheld, when you have a headlamp and you light up the ground, all that you see is directly what's in front of you. So if there's a rock there, you don't see the shadow. If, however, you have a handheld with you and it's below where your eyes are, it's going to cast a shadow, so you're able to pick up contrast. And for visually impaired runners, contrast is really key. That's something that really helps me out. Like if I'm running at night and I can get a white line on a black asphalt surface, I'm good. Also, if you can create shadows, that's really good as well. Headlamps, which are directly in your line of sight, are not so good at that. So sometimes a headlamp and a handheld are a really good combination. Princeton Tech also makes a smaller handheld, which is called the League. It's ergonomically designed, and as you hold it in your hand, it actually points down. On occasion, I've just taken a little piece of elastic, tied it around there, came around, tied around there. So basically you have a handheld and it stays right on your hand. I don't have that for this video, sorry. Maybe another time. But just give you a little idea for what this is. I have a light on in the room. That's 1,000 lumen right there. That's 275 lumen. Can't really tell the difference, but that 275 is extremely bright. That has taken me through Leadville and Badwater and independent running all over the place. So in any event, light. The next thing we're going to talk about is high reflectivity clothing and anklets for guides and for you as the runner to wear as a visually impaired runner. So first thing, you should be wearing high visibility of a high visibility vest for yourself and also for your guide. That helps you to be able to pick them up, their body anyway, where they're at whenever you are out on the trail. Not that you're going to be looking up much, if depending on what your vision is, whether you have peripheral vision or whether you just have central vision or a blur or a combination of those. But in any event, you can see here when light is applied to these, the high visibility features in the reflectivity. Here's a Nathan vest. Here's an USABA, U.S. Association of Blind Athletes, that actually has blind on it. That's a very nice feature. This is a homemade blind race bib that my mom created for me. We actually put some high reflectivity striping on there. And that's more for a call out. And you'll notice that instead of using a cane, you can get a lot more help from folks when you are wearing those. Next piece is reflective ankles. Ankle reflectors for your guides. And here I always have yellow and then I have pink, depending on whether you have a guy or a woman. Sometimes my guys like to wear pink. And these are Nathan. Very, very good, very easy to put on. I wish I had two hands here, but anyway, see how you can see how they just open up and snap right on. Really easy if you're changing out guides or pacers. Here, these are just a Velcro version, again, yellow and pink. And let me put the light on there. So when these are on your guide's ankles, you can see how they just light up. And against it creates a lot of contrast. So you may see the trail and you'll just see these, but when you're running and you have your light on those reflectors, you're going to see where they're stepping, whether they're stepping up, down, left, right, and you can just follow their steps. And what I do is I just basically follow those reflective ankle reflectors relentlessly through whatever trail we're at, obviously with call-outs as well. I'm sorry we're not doing that right now. I'll try to maybe add in a segment later on to this. Next is you can use lighted anklet reflective material. These are LEDs. These things got at Costco. Again, big Costco shopper. You can tell there's a blinking feature. If you hold this thing in, then it starts blinking. Pretty cool. You can also go different colors. So, strobes. So the other thing every visually impaired runner should be running with are strobes. These are road ID strobes that send off a very, very bright blinking light, in case you can't tell. This is a Nathan strobe, and there's a bunch of different features there. Solid, full flashing, rotating, whatever you like. This is another little one. This was like a $5 jobby off of Amazon. A whole bunch of different features. Sunglasses. So the next thing that's extremely important, especially when you're trail running, is what type of eyewear you're going to wear, and sunglasses in particular. Because as you're out on the trails, you're going to encounter areas that are shaded and extremely bright. And as you're going through canopies or foliage, there will be different areas of the terrain that will be brightly lit, and then you go into a really shaded area, and that can be very difficult for the visually impaired because our eyes don't adjust as quickly to contrast, high contrasted areas like that. So one thing that I've used there is yellow lens sunglasses. You see those in the front. On the left-hand side, both of those two front pairs are Oakleys, but they have different levels of yellow hue tint. If I'm going into a predominantly shaded area, I'm going to use these with a lighter yellow tint. I've also used these at nighttime with a headlamp. It actually makes it easier to see, if you can believe it. These are my choice, this level of yellow lens, if I'm going into a just standard forest out in the Rocky Mountains where you're going to have open spaces where you'll need some protection, and then you'll have different shaded areas where you still want protection, but you want to be able to see and you don't want to have to lift up your sunglasses every time. And these do a very nice job there. Sometimes what happens with yellow lenses is when you get in the open area, wide open spaces, it becomes too bright for you.
That will happen if you're wearing this level of yellow tint. For me, it has not happened when you wear a darker yellow tint. These I cannot wear at nighttime. It makes it too dark and does not improve my vision. I'll see if I can hold this up to the light so you can see kind of what the differences are between those two. Well, let's see, maybe this way. Very high tech. So there's the difference of what they look like. Those are the yellow tint glasses. Next, what we do is I like rose and or copper tint as light as possible, to let in as much light as possible. And here's a variety of different options from, you have Oakley models over here. These are true pink rose tint. I like these because they do let in a lot of light. These right here are also rose, but a little bit darker, but they have full wrap, as you notice there, so that there's not debris that can get in your eye with sand or dust or dirt. And that's true of all these. I like full coverage sunglasses. These are, you know, some $30 pair of sunglasses I picked up at a marathon. A little bit darker. They are polarized. I like these one. Obviously, you run around water or something where there's a lot of glare. Sometimes polarization does cause issues for visually impaired runners, so you need to check that out as you are looking at your sunglass purchase. But those are critical for trail running, and I highly suggest that yellow tint lens when you're going in and out of those trees. Whenever I end up out on the trail and I don't have my yellow tint glasses, I'm always kicking myself in the behind because I want them, and they really help the experience.
Headwear. So this is something else to consider, and depending on your eyesight, you may or may not want this, but what I found is when I'm outdoors or trail running, I always want a visor or something to stop the sun from coming in between my sunglasses and my forehead. So here's some different options I have. Just your standard visor. It's very lightweight. Nike makes a nice dry fit one. Here's something with a little more coverage with a neck drape from Columbia. Again, it provides that additional coverage. You could have just your regular hat, wicking hat. This is actually a cool hat that I found at my running company. It comes with lights built in. I don't know if you can see that. See that? There. And then all four. And that's pretty cool with if you're out running and then you end up at a restaurant or something like that, need a little bit extra light and don't have your headlamp on you. But anyway, that's something else to consider. Just something to stop that glare from the sun from coming in between your forehead and the sunglasses. So remember that headwear. Call-outs in your guide. The other thing you need to make sure, if you're a visually impaired runner, you're going to be on the trails, you need to have a very experienced guide who is an experienced trail runner as well. The reason why you want an experienced trail runner is because they are going to pick the best line. They're not going to have you stepping onto rocks or over obstructions, roots, that type of thing. They're going to pick the path and the best line with the flattest surface so your feet get beat up as little as possible. An inexperienced runner will tend to step on rocks, on roots, over obstacles, that type of thing, thinking that's part of the joy. But if they're guiding you and that's where they're taking you, that's not good. So always get an experienced trail runner. That's always been my experience. When you get an experienced person, you don't even really have to guide them on how to take you on the line. It's just a lot easier. And when they have those reflective ankle reflectors, you're just following where those go, and those go to the best line, the path of least resistance, the fewest and least amount of obstacles that you can trip on. They're also going to call out rock left, root right, rock right, wherever. Slow down, we're going through a dip, and we're coming back up. So you're going to need to work with your guides to learn that experience. The other thing that I've heard of, but I have not used, is I've heard of people actually using their cane or something like this, maybe a trekking pole. And basically the runner holds one end, the guide holds the other end, and they have to have the same swinging motion, but the guide is able to slow down the runner if you're actually going into an obstacle where you need to slow down and you don't have that type of depth perception, or you can't stop, or just auditorially you're not hearing. That's something that I'm actually thinking about playing around with in a future run, but something to experiment with and see maybe if it can help you. So that's some tips for trail running for the visually impaired. I know it doesn't encompass all of them, but those are some of the tips and tricks that I use, and I hope they can help you and have fun out there on the trails.